Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Blue Corner, and in this video I have for you guys a Cardfight Vanguard deck profile, and it's going to be on Musketeers. This is the Vera deck that you guys saw in the Cardfight video, and it's been my build for a little bit. It's based off of a lot of lists I've seen in the Japanese format, in particular one that appeared at a recent sub-tournament. I liked the build, so I built it, tweaked it, played several games with it, and I really do like what it does, and it's probably the best way to play the deck, as Captain Cecilia is nice and all, but it does require to run Cecilia, and that has its pros and cons. And it's far better than running Vera Martina, as Martina is not good right now. The problem with that card is she's really good when you get to the later part, to a late portion of the game where you have a whole lot of non-triggers in your drop zone, so you can use her skill. But because we're playing in stride format, the game doesn't go on that long. So yeah, that's why Elvira is probably the best way to play this deck. And well, this deck is probably the best way to play Neo Nectar, because generic Neo Nectar is not very good right now. It still needs many things in order to do stuff, as the concept of generic Neo Nectar just is not that great in the current format. You need to have existing rear guards to clone, and you have to. It's slow to set up. I mean, it's powerful when it does go off, but again, faster decks can just overwhelm it. Hopefully, set 4 will give the Asha-based decks something to work with. Or Butcher will be like, you know what? Fuck it, let's just give them a restanding Vanguard. That'll fix it. And thus, Neo Nectar became really good. But anywho, let's get on to the Musketeer deck itself. The basic concept of this is that you have units that sack off rear guards in order to search the top X cards of your deck and call a Musketeer unit. It's basically what Gold Paladins would go on to imitate with the Blue Flame deck, except Musketeers arguably do it better in that you don't put your units that you don't call to the bottom of your deck, you shuffle. And you also get to search a much more, like 5 cards with your Vanguard, 4 cards with your rear guard. That's pretty solid. So let's get started with this, and that will be the starter, Broccolini, Musketeer, Kira. There really is no good starter to work with in this particular build, as the Legion starter obviously isn't going to be doing me much here, as I only have 4 Legion units, and the generic starter, Generation Break starter is too slow. Both of those things are prone to being sniped, whereas this thing is not. You can just put into the soul, look at the top 5 for a grade 3 and add a grade 3, or if you already have a grade 3 ride for the turn, you can just pop it off with either your grade 1 or your grade 3 to help filter through your deck. So there's that. And then for the grade 3s, the best card in the deck, Lycoris Musketeer, Vera. Vera has 2 very amazing skills. The one you'll be using most frequently is her second skill, which is once per turn, you can pop a Musketeer rear guard to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and then you call a Musketeer unit from it, and then shuffle your deck. So she helps you trade rear guards that may not be that great. Like, say you have like just a whole bunch of units in your hand, like a 5k shield that you don't really need. You can just put that 5k shield down, tribute it, look at the top 5, and potentially call a 12k beater or a 7k booster, or your triggers that have effects when called out of the deck. And she just helps also set up your drop zone for Legion, and more importantly, she helps you filter out non-triggers from your deck, as what you'll be calling means 1 less card in the deck. Therefore, as the game goes on and you keep doing this, you'll eventually just start hitting a whole bunch of triggers when you start doing your attacks, which helps lead into her Legion skill, which is during a turn you Legion, all of your rear guard, or rather all of your Musketeer units get plus 3k each. This includes both units in your Vanguard circle, so Vera herself in Legion would be swinging for 26, and with a 7k booster behind it, that's probably going to be plus 3 as well. That's, well, yeah, that's a pretty big number. I'm not going to do the math right now because numbers are hard, but a Vera turn is a very explosive turn, and your opponent will need to have a lot of hand if they're at 4 to 5 damage, as you will be swinging for an average of 27 and higher with your rear guards and your Vanguard lines, and that's not even factoring in triggers and stand triggers. So Vera is very good. She is the Vanguard you want to be on almost all the time, as her retire skill is free. Whereas the retire skill of this one is not. This is Holiday Musketeer Elvira. She comes from Fighter Selection 2014, and She really isn't that great, but she's your best option for a backup Vanguard in here, as I've already mentioned. Her 2 skills are Counterblast 1, Limit Break 4. When your Musketeer unit is placed on the rearguard circle from an effect of one of your cards, you pay the cost. If you do, she gets a crit. So that's whatever. And then her other effect is Soul Blast 1, choose a rearguard and pop it off and do the same thing as Vera. That Soul Blast skill is incredibly costly, as you don't really have a lot of ways to build up soul in this deck, and because of this cards and needing to make it live, I had to cut a couple of things out of here, like more like my Soul Blast to unflip 2 damage card. So running this thing does come with its drawbacks, but she is an 11k beat stick and a secondary Vanguard that has the ability to pop off units and filter, but you never really want to ride into this. It's just Vera that you're going into. She's just your backup in case you have to. Then for the grade 2s, we have 4 copies of Pansy, Musketeer, Sylvia. When you put this thing into play, you check the top card of your deck, and if it's a Musketeer, you call it, and she just helps constitute your turn 2 rush play, as you can very well just ride this thing, check the top card. Oh, look, it's another copy. Call that thing. Oh, look. What did I hit this time? Oh, I hit a grade 1. Okay, I'll just call that down. And look at that. You have a +2 for basically nothing. She's really good. The 7k base is a problem, but for this deck, you will deal with it, as the pros she gives you far outweigh the cons. And she's a very good clone target for your G units if they ever hit. Though you don't really stride that often with this deck, I've noticed. But she's a very good card, and if you happen to be on Vera or Elvira, you can very much just go ride Vera, call this, activate her skill, call the grade 2, call your 12k beat stick, and then you can just have Vera pop this thing off, look at the top cards, and oh look, it's another beater, and look at that, you can start rushing your opponent for damage. So that's why I like her. She was very difficult for me to get though. Like before the set 2 release, this was only available as an old promo card, and she was rather pricey, but thank God for that reprint Bushy Road, as she became really cheap with the release of VDG2. And as I've already alluded to, I am running 4 of the 12k attacker. This is a much more aggressive build of the deck. A much slower build would run Kaivants to help further cycle cards, but because I am not running the damage on Flipper Susanna, I have to be really careful with my Counterblast. This deck counterblast a fair amount, and so no Kaivants instead of just going with this guy. He helps me swing for 21k with my 1 booster, which is really powerful versus the average Vanguard deck, as 21k, that means they have to block for 15 shield, which is less cards out of their hand to deal with your later purchase. So very powerful card in here. And then rounding out 3 copies of Vera's Legion Mate, Lycra's Musketeer Saul. During your turn, your Legion, when he attacks, you can take 3 normal units with Musketeer in the card name, put them on the bottom of your deck, and then you draw a card. So he's a free +1 during your turn at your Legion, and it's not once per turn, so if you happen to hit a stand trigger after he attacks, you can attack with him again and put 4 more normal units on the bottom of your deck and draw another card. That doesn't happen too often, but it's still there, and he's a beater otherwise. For the grade 1s, I'm running 4 perfect guards, one of which is a non-musketeer. I've got another one coming, so it's whatever, but we are in stride format, so it pretty much is PG or die. And yeah, not much else I can say about that. 4 copies of, in my opinion, the best grade 1 of the deck. Dandelion, Musketeer, Merca. So her effect is when she boosts a Neo Nectar unit, that's pretty important as she's splashable in Neos, and you've shuffled your deck, then she gains 3k until the end of the battle. So she is basically a 9k booster if you've ever shuffled your deck at least once, and you are playing Musketeers, so that's not a problem. 9k booster is pretty nice. Her and Augusto makes a 21k line, and her and the other 9ks swing for about 18, so that allows you to hit cross rides. 3 copies of Ruth. This is the 10k attacker. Again, this is a rush deck, so I want to be able to swing for big numbers on the first couple turns. If your opponent's sitting at 7 on a 7k grade 1, then this can come down, swing for 10, and then when they sit on a 9k grade 2, this can also come down, swing for 10, or go into the back and boost something. So very solid card. And running out 3 copies of Lily of the Valley Musketeer, Rebecca. When you place this thing on Vanguard or Rearguard, you can pop off a Rearguard to look at the top 4 and call a Musketeer. So basically, she'll be there for after you've gotten your grade 3 ride off as yeah, you kind of don't want to pop off very much, but she does neat things. You can call it off of Rebecca, or you can call it off of Sylvia to pop off with Sylvia. So do this, rather you ride that, call this, activate skill, call this, activate skill, pop this, activate skill, and then call this. She just helps you correct your field, and she's a good clone target as well. Got her last one though, so can't spam her too much. Let's move on to the triggers now, as there's a couple worth talking about. So first up, 8 of the vanilla trigger, obviously. Crits are nice in here, this is a rush deck. And 3 of the new crit trigger, Alan. Because of this guy being here, I can get away with not running Susanna, as he does basically the same thing. When you call this thing from the deck from the effect of a Musketeer unit, you get to unflip 2 damage. He's free, and you can just pop it off with Vera or Rebecca in case you find the numbers to be too slow. 4 copies of Blue Rose Musketeer Ernst. So this guy's effect is Counterblast 1, put him on the bottom of your deck, and just look at the top 4 cards and call him Musketeer. That's all. You don't have to call him out from the deck. If you have him in hand, you can just place him in hand and do that. He's a stand trigger that'll always be in the deck. He's very good. This is one of the few times I will not run a draw trigger in a combo deck just because of how powerful this guy creates combos of for himself. And then just the 4 heals. And then moving on to the extra deck, I'm still not certain if I like the extra deck I have right now. There's a couple cards I might run in here. For the time being, I'm running 4 copies of Jingle Flower Dragon, the Persona Flip G unit for Neo Nectar. His ability is you turn a copy of himself face up and target one of your rear guards. And that rear guard gains 2,000 power for each copy of itself in play. So, including itself. So if I target, say, if my rear guards are like this, then I can target this, and she gains 2, 4, 6. So they'll all get +6 each, which allows you to swing some decent numbers, especially this. But the problem I find with, at least with this, is that this means you'll have to have 3 Merkas in play and have performed a deck shuffle. Otherwise, you're not going to get the full benefits of it. Generic Neo Nectars can definitely make far more use out of this guy than Musketeers can, as they can swing for massive amounts. Like, I'm thinking of actually cutting this guy and putting in the Fighters Collection Double R Multivitamin Dragon. Oh man, despite the fact I did that video, I still don't remember like the full details of his effect. I think but I think he probably will be better in here, but for the time being, I'm going with Jingle Flower. I don't stride that often to begin with, so it's a moot point. I'm just running the good utility strides. 2 copies of Arborea. When she hits, you clone a unit. Good clone targets include obviously Sylvia and Rebecca, or Merca too if you already have one in play. 1 copy of Flower Princess of Spring's Blooming Arborea. This is the Generation Rare Stride from the recent set, and she's pretty costly, I'm not going to lie. Counterblast 3 is the one thing that just makes this card not that amazing, but she does do neat things. So when her skill is when she attacks, Counterblast 3, choose 5 normal units from your drop zone and put them on top of your deck. Then you look at 2, then discard a card. So that's all, and it's in that order too. So you can't discard and then put 5 units on top of your deck. So now you do that, then you choose 2 of your rear guards, and then you search your deck for a copy of those and call them into play. So she basically enables you to get an extra attack off, and it's a nice play that this deck definitely benefits from, as if you have like an Augusto Merca line, and let's just grab another Merca and an Augusto here. Like, this is a very specific field, but if it happens, it happens. So it could be like this. You could be attacking with this, and they block it, it's 21k. Then you attack with this, activated skill, pay the cost, and then target these 2, and then call another copy of these out of your deck, and just like that, you get another 21k line, and you get another 21k line. So you get to swing for a decent amount of damage, and it is a play you can do if you can't Legion yet, and you have a fairly, like if you're playing against a retire heavy deck and you do have a lot. She's just a good tech for that. Otherwise, you don't really go into her that often because of that Counterblast 3. But if you are able to get it off, it's not that bad of a play to do. Certainly much more likely to go off than some of the other G units. And then lastly, 1 copy of Blizza as... yeah, it's Blizza. Honestly, I'm thinking of running Atmos in this spot, as since I don't stride that often, I might as well run the guy that gets plus 10. Whereas this guy only get plus 5. Like, if I've stridden a couple times, yeah, he'll be amazing. But I just don't know with this guy. The extra deck is very open because of how little you use it. And that being said, though, that's pretty much the deck itself. Vera, Elvira. As far as the other builds go, like, I am going to experiment with Captain Cecilia once I get mine. And maybe I'll have a deck profile of that, but I don't know if it'll change a whole lot. If anything, I might drop Augustos so that I can run Kyvents, as Cecilia's skill is going to probably give me a trigger, and either a Becca and a Kyvent, so I can just pop off those triggers and then do stuff. But that will be then for what else you can expect here on the blue corner. Let's see. I will have eventually deck profiles of Pale Moon featuring Mystic Luke here. I'm thinking I might do a deck profile of Maelstrom Aquaforce with the new G support. There's obviously going to be a deck update to Brawlers, as well, Knuckle Turbo will require to make some changes to the deck. I might do a deck update to my Eradicators, and I might just delete that old Dragonikaiser Crimson video and just re-upload it because, well, I have a lot more SPs in that deck now, so I want to, my ego would like to show those off. One of my friends is obviously trying to build Tsukiyomi. What else was there? Oh yeah, Genesis, of course. I recently got my Minerva Yggdrasil deck back, so I can do that. And I now have Gear Chronicle. You know that Gear Chronicle deck that has been a part of those Neo Nectars versus Gear Chronicle duel of card fights I've had on this channel? Yeah, that deck's mine now. Which is actually kind of ironic, as you may have figured at this point. I now have all 3 main character clans from Card of Vanguard G. So yeah, I have Gear Chronicle, Neo Nectar, oh yeah, and Royal Paladin. I do have Sanctuary Guard Dragons. Once my Regalier come in, I will test out that deck and I will have that for you guys. So there are quite a few things. In addition to that, my one friend has Shadow Paladins finished, Revengers with Diablo, so I can do a profile of that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I can think of off the top of my head. I know one of my friends is also going to build Tachikaze and Spike Brothers, but it's going to be a while yet. Oh yeah, one of my other friends has Mega Colony, so I can always get deck profiles of my friends' card decks if you guys would like to see them, and hopefully I can get some more games with some of these in action. That being said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry for going on so long. I had to explain some of the combos of this deck, but I hope it was enjoyable. And yeah, stay tuned for all that stuff, including some Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, content too, because I'm getting into Yu-Gi-Oh. So yeah, that's all. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, this is Blue Star 9, jacking out.